I'm really excited to be joined today by Chase Whitney, who is a realtor with First Team Real Estate, and he's going to do a deep dive into his tech stack and how he came here and why he's decided to build his tech stack in a more fragmented approach rather than all in one. So, segueing that into the first question, what sort of led you to want to do a fragmented approach with your tech stack rather than just like a one easy all-in-one solution?
Yeah, thanks, Lane. I'm happy to talk about this. So, I mean, I've been in real estate practicing for about 12 years now. 2012, I got in, so I'm in my 12th year, if that makes sense. Yeah, we've bounced around different CRMs, bounced around different all-in-ones, if you will. And what I found was we end up, forced to use aspects of a box or all-in-one system that might not be best in class. And whenever I've told, my team this, and I work with my parents, I've told them quite a bit as well, whenever we bring on something, whether it's technology, anything that we're going to offer, it has to benefit us as the agent, but there has to be some sort of pass through to the client, some sort of benefit that our sellers are going to get, our buyers are going to get, or just our sphere. So I really wanted to focus on making sure that we had best in class aspects of our systems. Good for us, good for the consumer. But that was basically the impetus of it, was just making sure that we had, just the best systems out there.
Yeah, that was a hot topic at the FubCon, which if you didn't go this past couple of weeks ago, definitely go next year. Of figuring
Back in
out,
Vegas
I
too.
might pay a couple hundred or $1,000 a month for a tool, but I only want one piece of it. So trying to figure out, okay, how do I piece together things rather than paying for an entire tool I don't need or isn't really the best in class, as you said. So you mentioned like you want to benefit not only your team, but also your consumers and your leads. So can you share some insights of like what you look for in tech stack and kind of addressing those challenges and benefits you want to provide your consumers?
That's a great question. So, I mean, it has to, again, there has to be pass through benefits. So, for example, I mean, we're going to get into some of these things, I'm sure, but like, our CRM, I mean, yeah, the benefit is not, there's not a ton to pass through. That's just our database manager, right? But, on something like Real Scout, right? We want the consumer to have the best search experience anywhere they can get. It's better than Zillow. It's better than Redfin. It's better than any other IDX platform out there, in my experience and research and trying a bunch of different ones. And again, if the consumer, if what they see that comes from us is not best in class, then we're potentially not the best in class option for them, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's just one example, right? And of course, the benefit back to us on something like that would be the way we can track and see what they're looking at, what they're viewing. The open rates are better, the click-through rates are better. So we get the pass-through benefit too, but the consumer then gets the best experience out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's go ahead and dive in. I think you call them the 5 pillars of real estate tech. So let's just go
Yeah,
into the very first one, the pillar of your CRM. What do you use and why did you choose it?
I think you guys all know the answer to this question. Follow Up Boss, of course. So that, I mean, boy, so when I came on in 2012, my parents had been practicing for 15 or 16 years prior to that, and they had their own systems. And of course, I come in and in a couple of years, we whirlwind and shifts everything, but we bounced around. We changed CRMs probably every 18 months
Mm.
to 24 months. And it was brutal because, I mean, I could deal with it because I was the guy making the changes, but learning a new system, migrating data, what's not going to pass to the new system, et cetera, et cetera. And we went through a very large one that was around for a very, very long time. I'm not going to name names. We've used several kind of just CRM options as well. And then we ended up in a big box that our brokerage provided. Quickly realized kind of what I discovered was that you've got to fragment this stuff out because, again, you're just not going to get best in class. So, I mean, Follow Up Boss was out there at the time. We signed up and we joined in 2019, about this time, so about end of the year 19. And one of the things that I love so much about it from an agent standpoint, and it's so basic, it's so darn fast that if you're rifling through 10 records or 30 phone calls or updating your farm records or whatever it is, just the page load speeds is going to save you 10 minutes a day at least. I mean, that's one of the best parts of it. But going on to the fragmented approach, Follow Boss is completely built, and you probably know this if you're watching this video, is built open. It's completely open. All their API documentation is published. It's accessible to anybody. So you then have the ability, either natively with integration partners, or with Zapier or Make.com and these other kind of no-code solutions, to basically integrate most of whatever you want to do. So again, FUB is the hub. You might have heard that before, but that's the centerpiece. That's the nucleus. That's the core piece. And if a piece of technology at this point in our business, 4 years in, if a piece of technology does not implement into Follow Boss in some capacity, it's pretty much a non-starter at that point. That's how crucial this mindset is for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It has to integrate with Follow Boss, or I'll make my husband do it. And if he can't do it, then we'll do it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So going to the next piece of your business, lead generation. There are hundreds, if not thousands of tools at this point, going from like super expensive agencies to completely do-it-yourself options. Some website providers offer like pay us X amount of money and we'll manage your ads for you. What made you land on street text for your lead generation?
Yeah, actually pretty organically. We, again, used many providers. I've run Facebook ads myself, and that was daunting. I knew how to do them. I don't know how good I was, but I definitely could do them. We bounced around different providers, agencies. We've, again, everywhere and anywhere we were looking. But I actually met some of the leadership team at one of the Follow Boss events, actually, and we just hit it off real quick and start looking into the platform and what they could do. And they had just, when I had met them, they were just about to release their Follow Boss integration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been pretty cool to see that grow. But I mean, essentially, they've built a couple, so it's a Facebook and Meta, so Facebook and Instagram ad platform that basically empowers you with a not quite done for you. They have a done for you option, but it's pretty much empowering you to make very quick, easy to create ads that are affordable. And the cost per lead is much lower than what I've seen anywhere else. So without getting too techy, the two different avenues of street text that really set them apart is what's called their 3-ad split. And what that does is allows you to basically create two or three identical ads at the same time with the exact same photo, copy, audience, or not audience, but photo and copy. Because we all know that right now, demographic targeting is all but impossible, especially on Facebook. So it's just 15-mile radius, and you hit go, and you hope for the best. What they do now with this is launching 3 ads. You're able to grab this audience, and this audience. Watch how the ad performs. They say 24 to 48 hours. I mean, I'm usually making a change within 6 to 8 because in that quick amount of time, I'm able to actually identify which ad's going to perform, which ad gets the best cost per lead, and which ad gets the right audience. So essentially, I'm going to funnel those 3 ad budgets right into the one that I know is going to perform. That drives our cost per lead way down. I mean, the company we were using before, we're almost in half on the cost per lead, and better conversations in my experience. The second piece on the remarketing side, again, without getting too techy, they've built out what's called an ad bundle product, which you can essentially create 3, 6, 10, 20, 30 remarketing ads. And you can actually cycle them through daily, weekly, or even monthly, so the consumer sees a different ad at the frequency that you select. So if you have 20 ads versus spending $1 a day times 20 bucks a day, you're spending $1 a day and the ads rotate. The example that I've given to sellers at the listing table talking about some of this technology that we use to market their properties, it's avoiding ad fatigue. And I always talk about the Progressive insurance commercials. They're my favorite commercials on TV, but you have flow, you have the Becoming Your Parents, you have the What Really Happened replay, 3 different commercial breaks, it's 3 different ads for the same product. It's the same kind of thing. So you can build bundles around seller ads and buyer ads and relocation ads. And then with their integration to Follow Boss, you can then target specific stages, specific tags. If something changes in Follow Boss, they might end up in a different bundle immediately. So those 2 things really are what set them apart, in my opinion, and it's just worked really well. They've also got a really, really great community. Um, Not as big as Follow Bosses, but it is very giving, very collaborative, and it's just a great resource to anyone looking to create ads, run ads, and convert them. Of course, convert the leads.
Yeah, I agree. And with the bundles, let's say, okay, not only you don't have to spend, however many what was a day with 20 ads running at the same time, but if you were to try to do that manually, of like, okay, I can just turn off and
Oh,
on ads myself, it's impossible to find your ads unless you're super organized with a
right.
Facebook ad manager. So,
And
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I would give an arm to not have to log into Facebook's ad manager at all. So this does help with that too, because it is just a nightmare.
It is, yeah. Yeah, so on the note of street text, we aren't doing like a deep dive into it, but in the description, I'm
Right.
putting a link to, I had the opportunity to interview Steven, who is one of the co-founders of Street Text, and we did do a deep dive of like almost an hour.
Perfect.
If you want to see that, definitely watch that video. Okay, so since you're piecing together street text and Follow Up Boss, I'm guessing the next question people are going to ask is, okay, you've got lead generation, but what about a website? Do you use a
Mhm.
website? If so, which one did you select? And why
Yep.
did you end up using it?
Yeah, super important because you have to have your digital business card, right? Digital footprint. Again, bounced around a ton. We go way back to a provider that's still around that was like the first one. We've used a bunch, but Agent Fire is the company that we're using now. I did a lot of research on this about a year ago when I made this kind of big shift, and it's the best mix, in my opinion, of what it can do for you, how gorgeous the sites are, sexy, clean, whatever you want to call it, and cost. And I think they've really found that sweet spot. They have a two-way integration to Follow Boss, or well, one way because you're pushing traffic, right? To Follow Boss, everything, any lead that gets generated, it pushes right into Follow Boss. They have some really the two again. So if we're talking about a couple unique value adds, their area guides, local neighborhood guides, those are phenomenal for hyper local content. They're created with like 2 clicks and they're done. Can I actually pull it up and show you guys because I think it'd be helpful to see. Give me one sec. Where did
Yeah, I was
Zoom
about to
go?
ask you and put you on the spot if you wanted to share
I
presentation
would
things.
I would love to show. So this is our communities page. So this is kind of where we have all of them housed. So we've got local images that I actually created myself through listings or whatever else for kind of our main market areas. But these area guides, like I said, are created again with a click, and they're there forever. So it starts out with a local POI map, so you can actually come in and see where the schools are in the city. You can click on any of them, get the address, the name, phone number, right? All the parks in the area. There's no bus stops in Cyprus. Markets and convenience stores are all here as well. So a great way to provide value to the client, right? This whole section is created and updated via some AI technology that they have. So this is updated, I believe, every 2 weeks. I could be wrong on that, but it's give or take a week or 2 weeks. But talks about the average age, right? Residents, homeowners versus renters, average price, up or down. So again, very hyper local and very useful information. There's an IDX poll in the middle here. If you want, you can of course take that off, but I do like it because it provides again more information. Below that, there's a call to action for the market report, which breaks down even further some demographic information, more recent sales and statistics, talks about costs versus national averages. So a good call to action here. Again, more on schools, sorted by top rated. And then one of the great pieces down here is their Yelp integration, which actually pulls in different types of businesses. So restaurants, bars, stores, coffee shops, gyms,
Well, I like
groomers,
that. I didn't know they did
salons,
that.
right? You can even, I learned this about a week ago, you can even go as far as to making sure that your favorites show up first, right? Which is pretty sweet. So, but again, no matter what city it is, so if I come in here and I'm going to go down to Anaheim, it's the same template, but again, this is all updated, right? If you come into another area guide, right, it'll have the same template, the same intro, the IDX feed, of course, on the middle here, and then on the bottom, different schools, and then more localized to Buena Park or Anaheim or Long Beach, whatever the area is. So again, great way to showcase hyperlocal content. And again, this is fully customizable. So you can add stuff, take away stuff, throw a video that you created into it. That's another piece that I really enjoy about Agent Fire is how customizable, like literally everything is. So yeah, that's phenomenal. The second one is their engage calls to action. The engage CTA is what they call them. And these really empower me or whomever is using it to add value and or obtain client information based on pop-ups. You can do the corner ones you probably saw when I was just sharing my screen on the bottom corner with the market update on the bottom. There's video calls to action. You can do full screen locks. You can do newsletter subscriptions. You can do a Facebook feed that pulls up. But where it gets really clever is in the ability to only display calls to action when you have specific codes added to the URL. So the one example I can give on this, or two, I mean, number one would be like PPC traffic, right? If you're running ads, you have a page created and you don't want the page locked down, right? You don't want it force registered, but PPC traffic, maybe you do. Maybe you want to have a 5-second delay and then force them to register. Well, you can add just a code. And actually, let me just do this. I will show you again. So I just am changing some stuff around, but let's do this. So this page is not locked down as it stands right now, right? So single story houses in Orange County, or Garden Grove, Buena Park. So on PPC traffic, maybe I do want it locked down. So I've created one of their calls to action. It is a full screen forced registration that does not let them exit it. I created this code myself, so you can customize it for whatever you want to say. But if I direct PPC traffic here, well, they aren't going to get it, right? They have to register to get the content. And if not, they have to go back to the homepage. So that's the PPC version of this, which I love. The second version, and I'm not going to show because we don't have time, but the second version is like customized video content based on email traffic. And I love this one too. So if we email out a newsletter for a new listing that we have, what I'll usually do is create a 20-second very raw video of me in the office. I'm walking on the street, whatever. It's, hey, it's Chase with the Whitney team. Thanks so much for clicking on this email to look at 123 Main Street. It's a gorgeous house. You might not know this, but it backs up to X, Y, and Z, right? But that video is completely invisible unless you click on the specific email to get there. So again, when we did this, I mean, we got several messages back. How did you know that I clicked on the email? How did you put the video there? Well, Agent Fire. So those are two really kind of use cases that I use quite a bit. But it's endless with what you can do with that technology, and I've never seen that anywhere else. So that's one of the power ups that again I'm very, very excited about.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. That helps definitely personalize the experience and kind of catches them off guard. Even whenever you say thanks for clicking on the email, that catches their attention. You're like, oh, how did you, like you said, how did you know I clicked on the email? And then, so yeah, absolutely.
And even further than that, I mean, there's even just like your basic banners that pop up that maybe you have a global on your site, but on a use case, if you can pull up Google Analytics and show traffic to your site and say, well, hey, geez, we're getting, I don't know, 1,000 to 500, whatever it is, X amount of views on my page. And you can go to a seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, when we list your property for the first 7 or 14 days, we're going to have a banner that goes across our entire website for all of these 1,000 people's traffic. The first thing they're going to see is a red button that says to view your listing. So how does that sound, Mr. Seller? Would you like to move forward today, right? So some use cases to provide value to the seller as well as have us be the unique option that does these unique things.
Yeah, right. Tying into that theme of what you said at the beginning of the call of you want it to benefit you for your own business and growth, but you also want to show it as a benefit to your clients as well.
Yep, 100%.
So earlier you mentioned this tool and I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. Real Scout. Why Real Scout? I know some people might be confused on Real Scout versus traditional IDX. Do you use both? Like, can you explain why you decided to add it to your tech stack?
So yeah, let me try to make this clear because it does get a little confusing at times. But Real Scout is by far the best industry standard. I hesitate to say IDX because it technically is not, but property nurture, home value alert nurture, market update nurture and platform with property. So what they use is what's called a VOW, or virtual office website feed, which is basically IDX on steroids. Um, every field from the MLS is translated into Real Scout, for both searching as well as getting agent information on the back end. Quick tangent on that. You go into Follow Boss, you see someone looked at 123 Main Street. If I click on it in Follow Boss, I get directed to the back end with the agent version of Real Scout, and I can see the agent's information. I can email them from Real Scout. I can see showing instructions, private remarks. So, I mean, it's so much faster than logging in to the MLS and or going there, finding the property, looking at, scrolling down. It's that's a real quick side note, but back to your question. It's an agent client collaboration tool more so than just an IDX feed, right? There are several tools in there that encourage collaboration between the agent and the client. It's an invite only platform. The client has to have an agent either invite them or have a landing page to sign up. It's not a public platform per se. But in doing so, they've crafted the best of the best, and the speed that it pulls information from the MLS is right there with the big boys. The last time I did a case study on this, I literally sat in front of my computer and just refreshed browser windows until Zillow, Redfin, and Real Scout had our listing, and it was like 18 for Redfin, 20 for Zillow, 22 for Real Scout. So when other IDX platforms, ones we've used before, and you might have the same issue that you're finding, listing goes live, the inventory is low, the consumer sees it on Zillow like that, and then 5.5 hours later they get the email from you saying, "Hey, Mr. Buyer, there's a new listing." They're like, "Well, I saw that 7 hours ago." So, I mean, that's part of it. Yeah, definitely part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to recap, we've talked about Follow Boss for your CRM, Street Text for lead gen and remarketing, Agent Fire for your website, Real Scout for home search. So all these are digital tools. Do you do anything for postcards or letters? Is it still worth it? Can you share a little bit about like direct mailing?
Yeah. So we use so we're big farmers. We farm ourselves. We don't hire it out. We actually walk the neighborhoods at least twice a month still. 26 years of doing this. Me as a kid on rollerblades, passing out flyers to my parents when I was 10. So yeah, huge farmers. And so a lot of print marketing and a lot of relationships have been built. So yes, we do a lot of direct mail. We do use EDDM for certain things because it is cost effective. It's 18.4 cents a piece or whatever it is, but you're relegated to postal routes. So sometimes they might not work for where you want pieces to go, or you're sending to a ton of homes or apartments that you don't want the mailing to go to. So for targeted stuff, we use a service called Mailbox Power. And it's essentially a mix of, postcards, greeting cards, letters, as well as a ton of gifting options. So you've done from brownies and food and cookies to engrave, wine cups and, housewares and knickknacks, gift cards. So there's a lot to talk about there. But the one piece I'm so passionate about, because it just works every single time I use it, is the postcards are great because it's all first class postage. It's a pass through cost. The postage is what the postage costs. But they are completely customizable front and back, down to merge fields, QR codes, Google Street View, etc. Let me just show you what that looks like. It might be a little bit easier, and why this template that I created just works so well. So front of it, very basic, doesn't have to be anything fancy. That's more of a vehicle to appease the seller, of course. And the back is obviously the value add for us. So on here, what you can see is, "Hey, Lauren and Chase, have you checked the value of blank address lately?" This QR code is tracked and it's created individually per postcard. So if Elena got one, it would have her name, her home address, a different QR code. It would have a Google Street View of her house, not my house. It would have, again, her name down here. So it stands out, right? Because, well, geez, there's my house on it, number one. And then that's for the client. And then number two, when they scan this, I get notified. The sync here to Follow Boss is one of the ones I'm not tremendously happy with, but it does work. Thanks to Justin Benson over at Barra, he helped me create a pretty good Zap integration to push stuff back and forth. So what happens is when they scan this, no matter what they do with it, if they register for the home valuation or wherever you send this traffic to, great, you have their information. But what about the ones that don't? So the case study that I did pretty recently, we sent out 502 of these postcards. We had 4 leads give us name, phone number, email address. We had 12 that gave us their address and then bailed. But then we had 35 more that scanned it. And then for whatever the reason, I don't want to give my info, I'm over it, whatever, they scanned it and then bailed. But those are 35 people in this instance that had an interest in their home value and then for whatever reason stopped. So those are bonus leads in my opinion, right? Now what you do, now you're not going to get their phone number and email address out of it. Now we might have them because it's our farm or whatever else. You can skip trace if you want to do that. For us, rather than hound them and knock on the door, it's a little aggressive for my style, but they have an interest. So what we built in Mailbox Power is a series of drip, trifold letter, double-sided, large postcard, smaller postcard, greeting cards, all customized to their name, their property address with different messages, relocation information, what's my home worth again, why would you sell with us if you're going to sell, we do our business, what do we do to market homes. So we do a ton of different things there, but this is all pretty much automated from that first scan. They scan it, they push it to Follow Up Boss, they push the tag back to Mailbox Power, it triggers the automation, and they're going to get 7 pieces in the mail in the next 8 to 10 weeks following up on that, and the QR codes are all tracked again. So every single time I send that postcard, I get about the same results, and I keep thinking about changing the template, but it just works. So it's that old why fix when ain't broken kind of mentality.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know you did that. So sort of like the philosophy of remarketing online, but now you're just doing remarketing via mail where
Exactly.
and they just aborted
Exactly.
there's some interest. So you're
Yep.
being smart, and the money you're spending and the postcards you're sending, you're only sending it to people that had indicated some sort of interest, even if it was
Right.
just scanning and then leaving.
And so we're kind of spearfishing, right? But and then bring it all together, like on that instance, right? So those 4 people that gave us their phone number and email address, right? Well, that gets pushed to Follow Up Boss. They instantly get remarketed to on street text based on their stage and their tag. Then that address goes to Real Scout, and then with their automation, they're going to get their automated home value alert the next day, and then monthly from there on out. So I'm not doing anything to do all that, right? All the setup has been done, and that's the benefit of, like I mentioned at the very top of this, was Follow Up Boss and how everything has to work together. And so while all these pieces are different softwares and different platforms, they all operate together. And I'm often not really chasing a ton of data around because it all lives in Follow Up.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your tech stack. If anyone wants to chat with Chase, I'm going to put a link to your website below in the description. And also Chase has written an ebook where he does a further deep dive than what he did today into the philosophy of his fragmented tech stack, and goes into the weeds, essentially, if you want to, of exactly why he chose the technology he did.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thanks, Chase, so much.
Perfect. Elena, thank you.